Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So on today's video we do have a woman who is going to let us know how her roommate her roommate was pretty much cooking up drugs while they were in the same house. Okay, so yep, this is what we're watching today. And again, just want to thank you guys. Yeah, and I'll see you at the end.
Get ready with me while I tell you how I found out my roommate was cooking meth. Part 1. Yeah. I'm prepping for an audition, so we're going to do very light makeup today. I'm going to start with the CeraVe Skin Renewing Day Cream. Okay, so I've lived in LA for 6 years now. I just moved back in September after moving back home to Philly for a couple months because LA can be really crazy. God brought me back and I've really been reminiscing. I moved here in January of 2019. Horrible timing because I didn't know the pandemic was going to happen, obviously, but the first like 6 to 8 months in LA were really, really magical. I was 22, fresh out of college. I had no standards for anything. Every melanated girly gets it. I have to mix these two shades now. This one's my winter shade, this one's my summer shade. So at the time, I already have some film school friends that are already in LA because they were a year ahead of me in school. And they told me to go on Facebook and try and find a roommate there. And to my understanding, this was like a very standard procedure. Like most people moving to a new city, if they don't really know anybody who has an available living arrangement, go on Facebook Marketplace and just like join Facebook groups for that city. I had really crappy discernment, so I was like, oh, whatever, as long as I have my own space, like I don't really mind who I live with. I feel like I can get along with everyone. Keep in mind, I had literally just gotten out of college living with my best friends, but I'm thinking like, I'm chill, it'll be fine, not even considering that other people might not be chill. So I interviewed with these two girls and they both seem really nice. Like they're both Christians. They both moved out there to pursue their acting dreams as well. Well, one of them wanted to be a writer. So I was like, oh, this is a perfect fit. So they had me move in. I shared a room with one girl and the other girl had her own room. And obviously, you know, when you find roommates on Facebook, it's always a shot in the dark. It might not be that you guys are going to be best friends, but at the very least, I thought that we would all like have a good time and kiki and get along, which we kind of did. But the girl who was on the lease really didn't like having us there. I think I was young and immature and I was always just like coming and going, and she was just like, okay, I only want one person living in that room, not two. So she gave us the option and neither one of us could afford it, obviously. So she gave us a month to move out. And I was like, I just got here, bitch. What's going on? Studio Fix powder in NC43. So she gives us a month to find a new living arrangement and I am struggling so hard. I'm like on every Facebook group. I just felt like everything was out of my price range. Keep in mind at the time I was working for free. This was before the Me Too movement. This was before any of like the Hollywood amendments that they made to make sure that like there's no slave labor going on, because I worked 9 to 5 every single day at a production finance company for free. So the only money I was making was from this acai place that I had worked like 4 nights a week, and I was like, I have 2 pennies to rub together. Like I can't afford $1,000 for a room. NARS concealer and ginger. I'm over here scrambling trying to find a place to live. I'm about to be homeless in 15 minutes. And all of a sudden I get a message from this girl named, we'll call her Carrie. This is what altered the course of my young life. Carrie's like, hey, I'm leaving my bedroom in WeHo. I need to find somebody to replace me. Do you want to meet up for coffee at the Grove? And I'm so excited because I had like 30 seconds to move out. The time was ticking. So we get coffee and little did I know. I grew up very sheltered and like that was such a privilege, but also such a disadvantage because I had no gauge for like what was BS, what was authentic, like because I'm always authentic. So I was like la 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 la, just like floating through the world like a fairy. Anyways, Carrie and I meet up for coffee. She's like, yeah, I really need to move out. Like I found another place with some friends. I will pay you $200 to move into my place. Huh? Now looking back, I'm like, Chrissy, you silly little twit. You should have known that that was a huge red flag. Who pays somebody to move into their place? The hell? I'm over here thinking that that's a great deal. And I myself was about to be homeless in like 30 seconds. So I was like, Absolutely. And she showed me pictures of the place. She told me about her roommate. We'll call her Dakota. And she's like, yeah, it's in the middle of Hollywood. Like, it's so gorgeous. You have your own room and it's really affordable. And I'm paying you $200. What's weird is that she not only offered me $200, she was like trying to give me free stuff. So I'm over here like, oh my God, I hit the jackpot. And I'm like thanking God. I'm like, wow, I found the sweetest girl who's just like so kind. So I'm so relieved that I have a place to stay, and I move out of my old place, which was so traumatic. I've only been in LA for like 6 months, so I didn't have any help moving my stuff. But somehow I manage. I get all my stuff over to the new place, and I go inside, and I meet Dakota. Let me paint the picture for you. Dakota is the epitome of an LA hot girl. Like, she is a beautiful girl, like double D, fake boobies, but they looked great. Well, they looked pretty good. The cute pouty lips, like the little filler, big blue eyes. Everything in the apartment is like white and fluffy and gold. And I walk in and I'm like, oh, okay, hey, I'm Christy. And she's really sweet. Like, she has a sweet demeanor. She's like, hi, I'm Dakota. And I'm not exaggerating. That's how she talks. And I go into my bedroom. Like, it's so open and sunny. Dakota has the cutest cat. I'm definitely allergic. I didn't know about the cat, but you know, whatever, I'm there. So the first couple months with Dakota were fantastic. Like, she would just have her little cute LA hot girl friends over, and they would do hot girl stuff together. And I did my own thing. I had my little boyfriend, I had my little internship and my little acai job, and everything was going really well. One day Dakota's like, hey, Christy, you're like really pretty. And I'm like, oh, thank you. She's like, how much money do you make at the acai place? I was like, I'm in the negatives. She's like, wait, come with me to my night job. So I know that she works at this place called Pink Taco that no longer exists, RIP. But I'm like, wait, what do you mean, what's your night job? I didn't know you had a second job. She's like, yeah, it's like my night job. So I'm like, okay, yeah, if they're hiring. She's like, okay, but like, I'm gonna dress you up really cute. She lends me one of her neon green Fashion Nova dresses, and some random guy picks us up at like 10 p.m. that night, and he brings us to this mansion in the hills. Keep in mind, I have no context for this job. I'm like, wait, where are we going? Like, what are we doing? Who's this man? She's like, okay, so when we get inside, what we're gonna do is just look really cute. There's gonna be a bar. There's gonna be a bunch of guys in the middle of the room playing poker. Again, sheltered. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have left. Sure enough, we get inside, there's a room full of old guys playing poker, and then a bunch of like really gorgeous women massaging their backs and like sitting on their laps. Like, where am I? Keep in mind, all these women are beautiful, voluptuous, like models, and I'm a twiggy 22-year-old with the body of a 16-year-old. She's like, yeah, so all you have to do is like massage them and they tip you, and like you don't have to do anything else with them if you don't want. Huh? Up until this point in my life, the craziest thing I've ever seen was beer pong at my Christian school. So I'm flabbergasted. I'm not only flabbergasted, but I'm stranded because I can't leave. I have no cell service. So I'm stuck at 11:30 p.m. at night in a mansion in the hills with a bunch of billionaires and a bunch of hotties who are massaging them. Like for part 2. Part 2 of how I found out my roommate was cooking drugs in our apartment. Now, this is quite an elaborate story, so please go back to part 1 if you haven't yet seen it. Context is key. Remember, we're in the mansion and I'm standing in the corner like this. My little prude heart could not take it. I was like, what are we doing here? I don't want to massage anyone. The night ends, I escape unscathed, but that's when it clicked in my brain. I was like, oh, who am I living with? Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. Again, my youth betrayed me. I'm over here like, oh, well, I don't want to judge her. Like, this is just what she does on the side. She's only massaging their shoulders. Like, it's not a big deal. I just keep that night to myself because I don't want my mommy and daddy finding out that I went and was at an event like that. Allegedly. Dakota definitely has a party girl lifestyle. Like, she's out till 3 a.m. every night. She has her little like hot girl friends and like the promoter guys over at her apartment all the time. But they're very nice people and I'm never gonna judge you. Like, live your life how you want. One of her friends was from an island. I don't know which one. I think it was Réunion. And she's telling me about how she just left her husband for a millionaire. Her husband that got her green card. And I was like, oh, congrats? She's like, yes, we were in love, but I like his money more, so I left my husband. And I'm like, okay, these people are nefarious, but I'm not gonna judge you. Again, so those are your friends, you live your life. Here's where it starts to unravel. My best friend Ellie from the East Coast comes to fly out to see me. I keep telling you, I'm super innocent, naive, I'm a prude. If you think I'm all of those things, Ellie is that times infinity. She is an angel fairy from heaven. So Ellie comes to visit me. She's like, oh my God, I can't wait to visit you in LA. So she comes and obviously stays with me and she meets Dakota. Everything is totally fine. The next morning after Ellie comes, we wake up to the sounds of screaming and glass shattering. So Ellie and I wake up and look at each other like, I open the door to my room and one of the promoter guys and Dakota are fist fighting in her bedroom. She's like 5'2" and he's like 6'4". I mean, he was skinny, so like we could knock him out, but he was a whole man beating up a young, tiny woman. I get in between them and I'm like, what the hell are you doing to the guy? I'm like, are you insane? Because obviously she's the victim and he's the perpetrator. She has a busted lip. He has a black eye. I'm like, I've never even seen a fight on TV. Like, what's happening? He goes, no, you don't get it. She started beating me up in my sleep. She's over here like, he's lying. And of course I believe her because regardless, even if you started doing that, you as a 6'4" man, never, ever, ever touch a woman like that. I go to Dakota and I'm like, do we need to call the cops? Like, I'm shook to my core. She is scary calm. And I thought it was just the adrenaline. She's like, no, he's such a loser. It's fine. Ellie and I are quaking in our boots. We're both so unsettled. It's so disturbing. I'm like, do you need to go to the hospital? Please, can we call the police? She's like, oh my God, no, why would we do that? As the guy is leaving, he's like, Christy, check under her bed. You have no idea who she is. I just watched you swing on a woman, so nothing you say is valid ever again. Because she's adamant about not going to the cops, I'm just like, okay, well, there's nothing we can do, but like, please block him. Like, never talk to him again. Who's back in our apartment the next morning? Take a wild guess. So I'm over here thinking like, like this is a very toxic relationship. Like, this is not okay. I'm trying to like talk her out of it. Whole time he's in our apartment with the worst black eye I've ever seen. I'm like, Dakota, damn, you have a lot of strength. Neither one of them wants to go to the cops about one another, so I don't really know what to do. I just want to proceed with my life as normal. I've already been uprooted one time after my first living situation. So I had finally found like a comfortable living situation with her, and I did not think that I needed to leave the house. For some reason, please give me grace, my frontal cortex had not yet developed. Like, something was wrong. My frontal lobe, there was something wrong. I tell my ex about this and he's like, I don't want you in that house. And I'm like, listen, I'm paying so little for rent. We've never had a problem before. I just want to make sure that she's okay because I really am like so shook about the way that this man treated her. And my ex is like, okay, I can't force you to do anything, but I know these kinds of girls. He's an LA native. He's like, I know these kinds of girls. I really don't want you hanging around her anymore. So I take heed and I'm like, okay, yeah, the past 2 times that she and I have had interactions, it's been super weird. Like, her lifestyle is something that I can't comprehend. So I will not be hanging out with her. We'll just be cordial in the home. The rest of my best friend Ellie's visit was completely normal. Everything was fine. For some reason, Dakota and this guy continue to hang out and everything goes back to normal. That was incident number 1. Incident number 2. Having the room all to myself gets a little expensive for me. And I'm like, hey, Dakota, do you mind if I get another roommate for my room? She's like, oh yeah, totally, no problem. I'm the only person on the lease, so it doesn't matter either way. I go on Marketplace and I find this great girl. Let's call her Lindsay. Let me paint the picture for you. Tall, model-esque, a little nerdy, e-girl, pink hair, cutie patootie. I really like her. She has such a sweet vibe. So she moves in, we start splitting the rent. She has her side of the room, I have my side of the room. Lindsay and Dakota get along at first. So remember, all of our lives went back to normal after this crazy one-off incident that I thought was a one-off with this loser club promoter. After about 3 to 4 months, Lindsay finds another place to live because her and Dakota are really not getting along. Keep in mind, I'm at work and with my man all day, every day. So I don't even know really what the house dynamics are. I come in at the end of the night and I go to sleep. That's where I lay my head. Lindsay tells me that she's found a new place to live, but she really wants to keep her extra stuff in my closet space. And I'm like, of course, girl. She's like, oh, can I pay you for it? I'm like, no, just keep your stuff in the closet. I'll find another roommate. Don't worry about it. Dakota had some kind of vendetta out for Lindsay. I don't really know exactly what it was. I kind of feel like Dakota has a narcissistic personality disorder. He's very calculating, very cunning, and I see it explicitly during this incident. Remember how I told Lindsay that she could keep her things in my storage space, which should literally just be between her and I. Like, I'm the one that's paying rent for that room, and I had given her the okay to leave her stuff in the space. So Lindsay moves out, her stuff is in my closet, and I go back home to the East Coast for a couple weeks. And I tell Dakota, I'm like, hey, I'm leaving for a couple weeks. The second that I leave, Dakota goes into my room, gets Lindsay's things from the closet, and throws them into the street. How do I know that she did this? Lindsay went to go get her things from the house a couple days later, and she calls me and she says, my wigs were in the street. I didn't know it was only wigs that she was storing, but I found out that Lindsay worked at a sex shop and she is a dom. I don't know what words TikTok filters. I don't know. She's like, Christy, why was all of my stuff, all of my dom stuff and all of my wings out in the street? I saw unhoused people wearing my wigs. And if you know, wigs are expensive and she needed them for work. So I'm over here like, wait, but I told you that it was fine. What happened? She's like, Dakota threw them into the street. Now I knew that they didn't get along, but I texted Dakota and I was like, hey, that's literally evil. Lindsay has a case against you. Like, she could take you to court and now she has no wigs. Dakota goes, Christy, you don't even know. Like, she is actually evil and she didn't pay rent on time and da da da. She gave me 1,000 reasons. And I still held Dakota accountable. And I was like, there is literally no reason under heaven that you should have thrown that poor girl's stuff into the street. That was incident number 2. Now, after this incident, you would think that I would have the brains and the wherewithal to leave this girl alone and move and never talk to her again. But I was in such a scarcity survival mindset that I was so worried about trying to find another place. I had been actively trying for months. After this whole Lindsay incident with the wigs, I was like, I don't feel like I can really live with this person anymore. Like, the side of her that I'm seeing is really scary. And the lifestyle that she lives is very, very sus. But I was so broke and she let me be super flexible on my rent. So I didn't know really what else to do. Stay tuned for part 3. Part 3 of how I found out my roommate was cooking meth in our apartment. By the way, guys, I'm not trying to drag this story out. Like, it genuinely needs sections because there's so many details. I don't need these glasses, I can see. If you can't tell, by the way, we're already at part 3. It gets worse. So after about 8 months of living with Dakota, she comes up to me and she's like, hey, Christy, I just want to genuinely apologize for all of the craziness that's happened in this apartment. And by the way, ever since the Lindsay situation, there was really nothing else that happened. I saw her genuinely trying to turn a new leaf. I saw her working more and hanging out with the promoters less. And I was really just keeping my head down and trying to mind my business. So she comes to me with this really thoughtful apology and she's just like, I'm looking into 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms because our lease at this place is up in a couple of months. And she's like, if we get a 3 bedroom or 4 bedroom, you could probably afford your own room and not have to share with someone. We could just find other roommates. So I'm like, wow, Dakota, good for you. Turning a new leaf. Can't. No, Christy, no. Because we hadn't had any incidents since the Lindsay incident, I really believed that she was like changing and that she just wanted to be low-key and no drama. We ended up finding 2 other amazing girls to room with us in a new apartment. Let's call them Alexa and Sam. Alexa was a younger girl from Sweden and Sam was a recent divorcee who really needed to be around like an empowering group of women. So I felt so good that we found these other 2 girls and that we were going to move into a new place together. Everybody warned me. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I didn't know. I saw how insane her lifestyle was. I just chose to gaslight myself. Like, I just was in such a scarcity mindset and I just didn't even know how else to approach finding another place to live. I was like, this is the easiest way. And Sam and Alexa were genuinely so amazing. We got along so well. So we all move into this new place together and we all sign a lease. My old place with Dakota, I was not on a lease, so I could leave whenever. The new place, I was on a lease. I was locked in. The first week that we move into this new place, we're all really excited. We all have our own bedrooms. And Dakota's sister, Nevada, comes to stay with us for a little bit. Yeah, they're both named after places in America. I don't get it. Her sister, Nevada, is like blonde bombshell. And it's so fascinating how looks play a part in like the illusion of trust, because both of these girls looked so unassuming. I mean, Nevada, she's younger than all of us, so we're like, oh, like we're trying to treat her like a younger sister. We're trying to be really accommodating to her while she's staying with us. One night during her visit, Nevada's like, oh my god, Dakota, did you tell the girls the story about your boobs? It's so funny. Dakota's like, Oh my god, I didn't. So basically this guy really wanted to sleep with me, but I didn't really want to sleep with him, so I told him to pay to get my boobs done, and then I would sleep with him. So he paid to get my boobs done, and I didn't sleep with him. Sam, Alexa, and I are looking at each other like, where's she going with this? Dakota's like, long story short, he took a hit out on me. I said, oh, what? She said, yeah, he took a hit out on me. I said, Dakota, when did this happen? He was like, oh, like a year ago. So I said, he took a hit out on you while I lived with you? Yeah. Yeah. Her and Nevada are laughing about this like this is a stand-up special. And now it's all hitting me. It's all hitting me. First red flag wasn't enough, second red flag wasn't enough, and the third red flag wasn't enough. It wasn't clocking to me. It wasn't clocking to me. But it all hit me at once. I was like, I just signed a lease with a criminal. I was like, what happened? Like, what's going on with the hit? What's going on with the hit? Oh my god, don't worry, he got deported. Well, that makes me feel better, Dakota. This is where stuff hits the fan. If you didn't think it did before. Now, Nevada in and of herself is a character. Like, I genuinely thought like Dakota was the bad one and Nevada was the good sister with the good head on her shoulder. It turns out Nevada has committed her fair share of crimes. Career criminalism runs in the family. Nevada's bragging about how she scams men online on sugar daddy websites. In Creole, we have a saying. It's called mal élevé. This means poorly raised. There's another saying, mal appris. It means you didn't learn properly. These girls were both. I'm trying to understand, like, what kind of family are you raised in that you're gonna act like this in real life? I should have written a case study or something on these young ladies. It was just, like, so amazing how they really thought that there was never gonna be consequences for their actions, ever. Nevada stays with us for like 2-3 weeks, but it was okay because she was staying in her sister's room. One day, she brings in a little teacup puppy. It was a teacup Pomeranian, and he was so cute. Okay. Not even a week later, she is still staying with us. She didn't have the puppy anymore. Like, oh, Nevada, where's your little baby Pomeranian, your little baby? Oh my god, I brought him home and my mom stepped on him. I can't, I'm sorry. It's not funny, but like, you had him for a week. I wish I was making this up because this is sad. The amount of destruction surrounding these two sisters at all times needs to be studied. Chaos theory. The reason why Nevada is important in this story is because you get to see like the full scope of how this girl grew up. Nevada and Dakota, while Nevada was staying with us, talked a lot about the way that Dakota grew up. Dakota had been popping her mom's Xanax since she was 14. And I was like, oh, that's why you're mal élevé. You didn't get the belt. Ever. I got the belt and I've never done a drug. Strong positive correlation. These girls were gentle parented to become monsters. At this time, I have a lot going for myself. I get promoted from intern to assistant at the production finance job. I went from serving acai to being a cocktail waitress at a really nice Beverly Hills restaurant. And my relationship was getting really serious. So once again, I'm never in the house. I'm always out and about. My two roommates, on the other hand, were always at home with Dakota. The three of us had a group chat because Dakota was always just like off in her little world. She still had random guys over in her room. She still had her spouts of like erratic behavior. So the three of us would sometimes just like convene with each other in our own group chat. The texts in the group chat start getting really weird. I'm getting reports of like Dakota vacuuming topless at midnight. Getting reports of just like random guys going in and out of her room and like hanging out in the common areas and we don't know who they are. Lo and behold, I come home at like 12:30 a.m. and she's vacuuming like this. And I'm like, baby girl, first of all, why are your water balloons out? They were not moving. They were not moving at all. She was moving all over, but they were not moving. I'm like, you got a hit put out on you for a botched job. I'm not even trying to body shame. It was just a shocking sight. With inertia and with gravity, like why weren't they moving? This is the beginning of her descent into utter madness. The reports from the group text when I'm gone get worse and worse. The neighbor claims that we stole her vacuum. We're getting crazy noise complaints. Dakota is barging into Sam's room. Remember, Sam is a divorcee, so she has like trauma she's trying to work through. She just wants to live peacefully. And Dakota is like barging into her room and starting fights with her. We also notice that one of her male companions is coming very frequently, to the point that we don't see him come and we don't see him go. He's just there. Let's call him Trent. Trent is a 5'6" man, wannabe Machine Gun Kelly, pint-sized Machine Gun Kelly, essentially living in our home. What's even more distressing is that all of our spoons are constantly missing and Dakota's behavior is becoming crazier and crazier. What's important about the spoons, you may ask? At the time, I didn't know. Like for part 11, I don't remember what part I'm on, but it's gonna be the culminating part, I pinky promise. I'm so sorry for the delay, everybody. I was traveling and I got a little sick, but here's part 4 of how I found out my roommate was cooking drugs in our apartment. I also needed to make sure that I got all the receipts together so I could really come correct. So at this point, this girl's behavior is going from completely cuckoo to deranged. The reports go from, oh, she's vacuuming topless at 2 a.m. to this. This is a text I got from Sam in the middle of the day. I know, it's getting crazy here. I just can't hold out with Dakota's poor behavior anytime I do anything. There's a whole rant she texted me about how dare I have things in the kitchen cabinets or anything in the living room. Then she stole my vacuum. What's with this girl and vacuums? For ransom for the closet space. I tried to reason with her before I set the group chat, but she completely believes she owns this apartment and that we all have to cater to her whims. I'm like, wow, I'm speaking with Brianna, the building manager now. Sam goes, also, were you aware that she's been smoking meth in her room with these guys that she has over? That's another reason I don't feel good about staying. And she keeps saying she and her dad own the apartment to intimidate me. I'm guessing he co-signed her lease and she has no idea how leases work. I'm not really sure. So as you can see, Dakota's behavior is getting increasingly aggressive. Dakota and Sam always kind of had a rocky relationship because Sam was very confrontational and Dakota's extremely crazy. But Dakota and Alexa actually got along really well. So I was really surprised when Dakota started turning on Alexa too. Alexa and I were becoming increasingly uncomfortable with all the random guys in our apartment all the time. Like we would literally get out of the shower and there would be some huge guy just sitting around on our couch. They wouldn't even introduce themselves. They'd just be like, sup. So Alexa tries to gently confront Dakota about this. She's like, hey, Dakota, I just want to let you know that Christy and I asked so-and-so to leave because I don't want to be at home alone with a stranger. I just don't think it was okay that you don't let us know that someone was here without you being here. We need to talk about this. Dakota goes, don't do that again. Yes, we will. Dakota goes from verbally aggressive and controlling and erratic to this. Sam sends me a text in the middle of the day one day. Christy, they just both broke into my room. They went through all my stuff in the living room and stole some stuff from the bathroom. I said, what stuff? OMG, they broke into your room? Sam goes, I left a box of clothes and a bin of craft things in the living room and she went through it. Yes, they broke in while I was here. Look at the pin in Sam's door. They broke into her room. They being Dakota and Trent. I don't know what a tweaker looks like, but Sam is a more seasoned adult than both me and Alexa, and her spidey senses are tingling. One day when Dakota and Trent and all those random guys are not home, Sam and Alexa go into Dakota's room. Remember how that crazy promoter told me to look under Dakota's bed? Well, what they found under the bed were materials to make, allegedly. I can't share the pictures because we have them in our police report and I just don't want to share any confidential information. Now we had our answer. She was tweaking on this whole time. Now, even though at this point I'm not street smart, I still have enough sense to not confront them straight to their face about the fact that we know that they're cooking in our apartment. But Sam and Alexa thought it would be a good idea to go right up to them when they got home and be like, we know what you're doing. You guys need to get out. Which, of course, enrages Trent, and he goes like this to show that he has a piece on. Who carries a piece around in their skinny jeans? Obviously, this is a direct threat. So at this point, the only thing we can really do is call the cops. We've tried to reason with her. We've tried to talk to her about it. But Dakota just keeps escalating the situation, and now she's allowing a man to threaten us in our home with a gun. So Sam, Alexa, and I start planning our escape, but we're like, where are we gonna live? What are we gonna do? So then we're thinking, wait, who's the co-signer on our lease? Dakota's dad. We have his contact information. Let's call him Mr. X. I decide to give Mr. X a call to let him know all about what his daughter's been up to in LA. His wife picks up the phone, and I tell her exactly what happened, and she starts hysterically, oh my God, my daughter, please help her. Please save her. Of course, I already know the answer, but I'm like, Mrs. X, does your daughter have a history of this behavior? Whole time I know that her daughter's been popping her pills like for 10 years. Mrs. X goes, yeah, she used to steal my medicine, but I didn't know what to do. So Mrs. X and I start brainstorming on how Mr. X can come and kind of do an intervention for Dakota. I go, hi, Mrs. X, if you could tell Mr. X to come as soon as possible. The guy staying with your daughter is getting violent with all of us, and we don't know if we should call the cops. She goes, Mr. X is coming tomorrow. Does that guy ever leave? No. Take Dakota to the emergency room if you have to. I'm sorry we're so far away. I said, he never leaves. She goes, is everyone okay right now? I said, yes, but we're really scared of him. He has a gun. She goes, oh no, this is terrible. This is where we see the extent of Dakota's lies. I go, it's okay, he won't hurt Dakota. She goes, I'm trying to figure out how to do this so no one gets hurt. He's not going to like her dad taking her. Don't say anything about him coming yet. Did Dakota go to class today? He's coming Thursday. Will that be okay? I said, we cannot wait one more day. None of us want to stay home tonight. Dakota isn't in class. What is she talking about? Class? She goes, was she in class today earlier? I said, Mrs. X, she isn't enrolled in any classes. She's always home, tweaking. Now it's clear Dakota's not only lying to us, she lies to her parents on the daily. Also, Mr. X fully took multiple days to come to us. If my parents heard that I was doing something terrible, they would come snatch me up out of there right away. And he was trying to negotiate with me on when he should come. I was like, come get your kid. Remember in the last video how I said Dakota was gentle parented? I had a front row seat to all of that. When Mr. X finally decides to show up, I'm at work. So Sam and Alexa and Mr. X are kind of staging this intervention with Dakota. I'm Mr. X right now. Dakota, you need to go to rehab. Your roommate said you're cooking drugs in the apartment. Dad, I would not. What are they? They're liars. Look at them. They're liars. Okay, are you still going to your community college classes and still going to work at Pink Taco every day? Yeah, Dad, and I'm getting all A's in my classes. At which point, Sam and Alexa FaceTime me because Mr. X is fully getting gaslit by his own kid. Mr. X goes, Christy, I'm sorry, but my daughter brings up a good point. She's getting all A's in school. She's working every day. I don't believe that she's doing what you said. Sir, why would I lie to you about your kid? I had also given him all the evidence and all of the details of the story prior to him showing up. So maybe she wasn't gentle parented, but she was certainly permitted to become as manipulative and ridiculous as she is. Her dad goes, I'm sorry, I don't believe you guys. She told me. I'm like, okay, Mr. X, why don't you ask her what classes she's taking, what community college she goes to? She's like, I'm taking communications. And he's like, yep, I believe her. Look, she's taking communications class. Keep in mind, these people are educated and of means. He wanted to not believe us. He wanted to be in denial. He's like, I believe her, sorry, and he leaves. Alexa tries to follow up with Mr. X after he leaves, and this is what he tells her. I raised 2 daughters to be strong-willed and self-reliant. They don't need safe spaces. I know Dakota's tough and smart. When the 3 of you contacted me through Christy, I am willing to help. I do have the ability to control my daughter. No, you don't, you idiot. But she gave me a strong argument today while she was right. I saw her systematically defend herself. She still may be wrong, and I'm open-minded to make sure my daughter makes the right decisions, but I think at this point I'm dealing with snowflakes. Dakota can take care of herself and you can't. Okay, so her dad is like a right-wing nut job. He's literally proud of how manipulative she is. Seeing the way that Mr. X treated Alexa, somebody who was a friend to Dakota and really tried to help her, I snapped. After I see the way he spoke to Alexa, I text him and say, you are the most morally deficient, inept, and insufficient person I've ever met. What you told Alexa, a 19-year-old, disgusts me. As a grown man, talking to her being like, you're weak and you guys are snowflakes, I see where your daughter gets it from, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry we tried to warn you that your daughter's habits are hurting herself. We tried. He responds to me, at this point, I guess Dakota wins. Wins what? You were, all 3 of you, very weak. I wanted someone to put FaceTime so I could have them confronted. At this point, I don't believe Trent is there. Otherwise, someone would have had the spine to do that. I'm glad I raised a strong daughter and not a snowflake. I said, we didn't go to her room because Trent is there and has a gun. What is confusing about that? You raised a foolish daughter. If we were snowflakes, we would have called the cops, but we didn't. We called you and did the compassionate thing. And at the end, he says, I know that and I'm grateful. Now that we see that her dad is just as much of a buffoon as she is, we call the cops. Ever since they found the stuff under her bed, we had been compiling all of the evidence we had been gathering against her for months at this point. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Sam had already called the cops on her on several occasions. They just didn't have this specific evidence with the stuff to hold against her. If you're not aware, California law is always on the side of the tenant, and you're actually able to break a lease if you're able to prove that you're experiencing domestic violence or you're in danger of any kind. So we called a police escort to officially prove that Dakota was doing what she was doing in our apartment, and we could all officially break the lease and just leave. And at this point, she kind of did win. Because now we all have to find a new place to live, but like, we just have to do something to be safe because her dad was supposed to take her to rehab, and he failed. He barely even tried. The cops show up squad deep. Dakota and Trent were hiding in her room when the cops show up. They come into the apartment with us, announce themselves, and they hold up a gun to Dakota's door. And they're all huddled around each other with their guns drawn. The guy with the gun drawn is like, Dakota, Trent, we know you're in there. Open the door. Dakota and Trent stay silent. This is definitely not their first rodeo. The cops tell us, we know that you have photo evidence of what they've been doing, but because they refuse to open the door and because Trent is technically legally on your lease now, because he essentially lived with us for more than 30 days, he qualifies as a squatter and they can't kick him out of the apartment. So the cops are like, so you have us here right now, and what we're going to need you to do is just gather your things and leave this apartment. What we thought was going to happen is that Trent and Dakota would come out and get arrested. But because they couldn't break down the door and like force them out for some reason, because they weren't like actively hurting us, we had to gather our things and literally leave the apartment. And that's the last time that we were there. Alexa goes to her friend's house, Sam goes to a hotel, and I go to my man's house. And we all just like have our things with us in our hands. And of course, there are certain things we couldn't take with us, like our beds. Now we're literally officially homeless. Remember that this is February of 2019. Not even 2 weeks later, lockdown starts. Remember, since we had a police escort, our lease was officially broken, but we were still liable for the rent. Oh, except for one thing. No, we weren't. Because Dakota's stupid dad was our cosigner. If you don't pay your rent, your cosigner is responsible for paying it for you. So much stuff happened after we ended our lease with Dakota. Like, I'm gonna need to make an epilogue. But long story short, the whole entire investigation got interrupted because of the lockdown, and Dakota and her druggie friends were able to stay in the apartment and essentially trash the entire place. Like, neighbors were complaining for years after and the building had to completely renovate our apartment because it turned into essentially like a little druggie like home base. As far as I know, Dakota did end up going to rehab at some point. I was still in contact with a family friend of theirs, and it was officially confirmed that Mr. X had to pay the remainder of the balance on our rent, and we never thought about it again. And to this day, I know that they are all experiencing the repercussions of that BS as a family, and they deserve it. There's so many more details I want to tell you guys, and I'll put them in the epilogue, but all that to say, if you're ever in a situation where you feel unsafe or you feel uncomfortable, never gaslight yourself. You deserve so much better. Leave the first time. Part 5 of how I found out my roommate was cooking drugs in our apartment. A lot of people were asking for an epilogue, so here it is. Wait, that looks so bad. And I just want to say, like, as funny as the story is to tell half a decade later, like, thank God time heals all wounds, but it is still emotionally exhausting and taxing to think about it and have to, like, dredge up old memories about it. Thankfully, I feel like I escaped the situation relatively emotionally unfazed, but the body does keep the score. So after we broke our lease in late February and all of us became homeless, I moved in with my ex-boyfriend in mid-March. Thank God, literally right before lockdown happened. I think at the time, I didn't really categorize all of that as like a traumatic event, but I genuinely, like I said before, I was so sheltered. Like I didn't know that the world could be this ugly. I didn't know that people could be this harmful to one another. So I definitely was harboring a lot of trauma, and then it was compounded obviously by COVID. So I'm staying with my ex for a couple months trying to find a new place to live. It's mid-May and I get this random text. Keep in mind, Dakota's behind was blocked. Herself, her family, her associates, everybody. This random number says, hey, it's important, sorry to bug you, it's Dakota. I'm like, did you memorize my number, you freak? Like, please leave me alone. She goes, I'm using someone else's phone. Someone stole my phone and I had to put your number. Please help. All we need is a code sent to your phone. My name is blank. Let's call her, what's the woman's name? Karen. My name is Karen and I've had stuff stolen too. I'm innocent here. I could really use your help. At this point, guys, I had such little trust in people. Like I was actively recovering from living with this like genuine psychopath. I was like, I don't trust this person. I'm getting a text from a random number and you're telling me it's Dakota. The second I hear Dakota, my brain shuts off. Like I can't do this. This person says, please, all you need to do is send us the code that Apple just sent to your phone. Of course, being very skeptical at this point, I'm like, Dakota literally made us homeless and did not care. I'm at a loss as to why I should help. I thought that Karen was Dakota's friend at this point. Karen continues, I'm really sorry to bug you. Oh, wow, I didn't know. I don't know anything that's going on. Wait, you said I do the influencer accent? Just say it. You're not in the frame. Well, now you're in the frame. You look like Count Dracula. So like I said, at this point, I'm thinking that it's Dakota's friend trying to rope me into their chaos and crimes. So I was very skeptical and I was literally about to block her when I got a text from our old building manager telling me that this was a legitimate situation. The police were on site. Like at this point, Dakota and the police were like, Karen says, I'm really sorry to bug you. Oh, wow, I didn't know. I don't know anything that's going on that's really messed up. Basically, Dakota got jumped and robbed and my car was stolen by the person. So I'm trying to track her phone to find the person. I understand if you really don't want to help her, but I could use the help too. She's like, I'm sorry that happened to you. I can't imagine what that's like. Her phone is with the guy that has my car. I'm like, who stole your stuff? She's like, it was just my car. I don't know Dakota personally, but we live in the same building. And the guy took my car thinking it was hers, and apparently he took her phone. Reading this back, I'm like, how did he take your car if he didn't have the keys? But the level of chaos is so disorienting that I'm just like not even, like I can't. So at this point I understand that this is a genuine emergency, and I think Karen thought I was trying to be like difficult, but I was like, you don't understand, like Dakota is literally a danger to all of you, and this was in the middle of COVID before Dakota turned the apartment into a full-on trap house. And I was like, listen, I hope you get your car back. I sent her the code. I'm like, please tell the building manager everything that you and I are talking about, because she does not listen to us, and I'm worried for everyone in the building. So myself and my former roommates have been trying to warn the building manager before we even like were able to evacuate and break the lease. We were trying to let her know that like, hey, this person is a genuine danger. And the building manager was like, no, you need to find replacements for yourselves on the lease. And I was like, we can't. This person is dangerous. Like, I'm not going to endanger somebody else. Karen replies, thank you so much. I definitely will. That's concerning. Sorry to bother you. I'm like, not at all. I just don't want to be in contact with Dakota. Please let me know if you need anything else. I believe that was really the last time that we heard about them directly. Like I said, one of Dakota's family friends was trying to update us on what was going on with her, and we were like, we don't care. We don't want to hear it. Get her dad to pay the rent and leave us alone. One of my roommates filed a restraining order. I wish I could say that this is the last time I found myself in an unfavorable or unsafe situation, but if you know anybody that lives in LA, you know that there are the most nefarious human beings just like roaming the streets. And like I said, at the time I was really sheltered, so I was trying to sharpen my discernment, and this situation certainly did. But I guess the point of me sharing this story in the first place is like, yes, it's funny to laugh at, but mostly it's about self-worth. Like, I talk about this in my other videos, but I'm very much like a recovering people pleaser. I kind of always felt like the onus was on me to like accommodate other people and give other people the benefit of the doubt. As much as I believe in extending kindness and graciousness and compassion to other people, it cannot come at your expense. The Bible says to be as innocent as doves, but as wise as a serpent. Wisdom is definitely cultivated over time, and discernment sharpens over time, unfortunately, through lived situations like this. Sadly, my next living situation was with some people that I knew, and I thought that it was going to be better. I thought that it was going to be a place where I could seek refuge and find peace, and unfortunately, it was so much worse. I actually suffered a lot of narcissistic abuse at the hands of the people, one person specifically that I lived with after the situation happened. So a lot of what I talk about on TikTok and on Instagram now is just like how to remain soft and strong at the same time, even when other people are really trying to take advantage of you. Of course, if you're bleeding out, sharks are gonna flock. I've historically been a very trusting person. Like, I will make friends with somebody off the street and become besties. Like, I have just always like trusted in the best in human beings, and that's been a massive blessing. But without discernment, that's not a healthy quality to have. You really do have to gatekeep your sacred energy, especially in a place like LA where everybody's trying to, like, it's like crabs in a barrel. Everybody's trying to get to the top and everybody's trying to clout chase, and you can easily become collateral damage around people like that, especially when you do have a good heart and you do mean well. So all that to say, I genuinely hope that this story helps someone. I have so much lore. Like, this is genuinely the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, treat yourself with the softness and reverence that you deserve, because not everybody should have access to you, and you especially should not be in any environment in which you feel unsafe or unworthy. Bye.
All right, y'all. So, y'all saw it. This video was kind of long to me, and I don't know. Maybe I gotta watch it again, but I don't know. But like she said, she grew up pretty sheltered, so she really did know, how to really read the room. She was kind of green, stuff like that. I kind of thought like the part where old girl dad came in and tried to defend her. I felt like that was funny. I don't know why I thought that was funny, because like, I don't know. Sound like he got a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know. Sound like his ass was in denial. But yeah, so I would say don't just be moving in with everybody. And that's, yeah. Well, what y'all think? Let me know down below. Thank you. Later.